Hello and welcome to Inside Athletics, a show all about high school sports in Robeson and surrounding counties, produced here at WNCP-TV. I'm your host, Jonathan Bim from the Robesonian, and joining me once again are Donnell Coley, also from the Robesonian, and Brandon Tester from the Laurinburg Exchange. So guys, welcome back.
It's good to be here.
Yep. So guys, last night we answered the age-old question of how many reporters does it take to cover a high school girls basketball game, as Lumberton hosted Scotland in the first round of the Sand Hills Athletic Conference tournament. All three of us were there, and we watched the Lady Pirates struggle to create offense in the first quarter. But once they broke the seal on the goal in the second quarter, it was smooth sailing the rest of the way to advance to the Thursday semifinals with a 59-44 win. So Brandon, you witnessed both meetings in the last week between these two teams. What has been the similar situation with what Lumberton's had going on?
Yeah, Scotland really started out strong in both games, probably the strongest I've seen them start all season. And even last night they jumped out, I think it was a 13-1 lead early in the game, and Lumberton just didn't have any momentum early on, but then eventually they were able to pick it up. So it was kind of the same thing for Scotland. They started strong. Coach Mallory Snow said they were just really excited. They knew what was at stake. They had to win that tournament to get in, so this is kind of their last chance. And they just kind of faded near the end. Just kind of got overpowered a little bit by Lumberton.
Yeah. So Donnell, what does that say about Lumberton to have a poor first quarter and then really just it'll be able to hang around and come back and win it?
It says that they have a good program there as far as their pedigree. They're used to success in that conference, so they're not going to panic just because they're down 12 in the first quarter. Spoke with Coach Davis afterwards, and he said a big key was going man-to-man, getting out of the zone, because they started out with zone defense. And he said they got lazy because of that. So it was a good strategy move there and proved to be the difference.
Yeah. What did Coach Mallory Snow say, Brandon, to you after the game? What was your take? I mean, obviously that was the end of their year.
Yeah, I mean, they expected it to be competitive there. They always do, especially on the road in the Sand Hills. You always hear that you expect to win at home and then steal a few on the road. And it's kind of tough to do that on the road in a conference tournament game. But she said that, I got the sense that she was impressed with what she saw out of their team. I mean, obviously they didn't like the result, but they had a good, strong start. That was probably some of the best basketball I've seen them play for a while there, and then they just kind of faded. But it wasn't the worst way to end the season. I mean, they gave it everything they had, left it all on the floor.
Yes, so Donnell, you mentioned how Lumberton went man-to-man. It really kick-started things. Madison Kennedy hit 9 free throws in the first quarter to pace them, to keep them in the game, really. What did she say after that game? I know you spoke with her as well.
Yeah, Madison, that's exactly what she was talking about, the slow start that they usually get off to. She said, they have propensity to do so, and it's up to her to try to get that team going because she's their leader. So that's what she did, hit 9 free throws. They didn't hit a single field goal, if I'm correct, in that first quarter. So her 9 free throws were it. And then she goes on to score 29 for the game. So she's that big spark plug that they need.
Yeah, she's more than just a spark plug. She's the offense, the defense. Really does a little bit of everything for them. Even when Zycade, their point guard, was out with suspension, she seemed to do that as well. What is it about her skill set that really helps the Lady Pirates this season?
She's well-rounded, especially when it gets to getting in the passing lanes and getting that transition game going for Lumberton. She said that they love running, they love making teams tired, and that's what she specializes in. And once she gets it going, then you'll see Rachel O'Neal chip in, and she'll get it going with layups and playmaking, in addition to other bigs that they have there. So they're a tough team when they're out in transition.
Yeah, so on Thursday they take on 71st. Semifinals, the 2-3 matchup. The winner more than likely gets Pinecrest on Friday, but we aren't sure. So you were there the last time Lumberton played 71st in Fayetteville. What did you see from that matchup, and what should the Pirates expect?
Lumberton, they didn't get off to as quite a slow start as they normally do. It was kind of competitive in that first quarter. It was really, the difference really happened with their point guard that they didn't have. They didn't have Zycade, so it seemed like that was, especially talking to Madison last night, it seemed like that was the big key that they needed, especially her defensive pressure and her transition layups and things like that. So I think this time around with Cade, it could be a little bit different.
Yeah, so Brandon, you've seen both teams play in Lumberton and 71st. Who would you give the upper hand to in that matchup?
It's a tough choice to make. They both have their own unique strengths. I don't think you can get off to many slow starts. in the Sandhills Conference tournament. That's the only thing there, especially against a team like 71st. So I think that might be Lumberton's kryptonite if that happens. But I kind of like Lumberton's chances to go in there just the way they play basketball and kind of be competitive.
Yeah, so in the boys tournament, Lumberton is the only team in Robeson and Scotland County still alive after a 64-61 win over Hoke on Monday. The Pirates traveled to top-seeded 71st tonight with a spot on the conference championship game on the line. So Donnell, without Braylon Grice in the post, what chance do you think Lumberton has against the Falcons?
It's not very good. I think the Falcons are that team to beat. They're probably gonna make a deep run into these state playoffs as well. So I got them winning that whole tournament, and I don't think Lumberton is gonna do too well tonight.
Yeah, so Matt Hill said after the Hoke win that when his team gets out and running, they can beat about anybody. Is that really what they have to do? They have to force turnovers. They have to really get going on defense to help out that offense.
Yeah, that's their best option, especially without Braylon in the lineup. That's their best strategy, to try to just get out and go, score quick buckets before that 71st defense gets set. If they do get set, they're so long, they're so athletic. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough for them to score, just like it was last time when they played.
Yeah. So Brandon, what challenges does a team like 71st pose?
Well, a team like 71st, they're not really going to shoot themselves in the foot that often. Then we talk about, the need to stop them on defense. Well, you do need to stop them because they're not going to stop themselves. They're not going to really make a whole lot of silly mistakes or give the ball away too often, and you're only going to have so many chances to shut them down. I've seen 71st a couple times and just really impressed with how they move the ball and communicate. It's a very hard system to break, so they need to be on their game all night on defense.
Yeah, so you've seen both Lumberton and 71st play. Who would you give the upper hand in that boys matchup to?
I'd have to say 71st. Lumberton just hasn't been consistent enough for me, and like I said, you need to be consistent against 71st, and 71st has a lot of talent on their team as well, so I'll give them the upper hand.
Yeah, so in the first round of the boys tournament, Scotland and Purnell Sweat both saw their seasons come to a close, and for the Robeson County shootout champs, it was all downhill after the Christmas break. So Donnell, what are your thoughts on Purnell Sweat's season, how everything started off fine and then fell apart there after Christmas?
Well, we both talked to Coach Sampson this year, and he said the big goal was 10 wins. So from that perspective, they did have a successful season. But to me, it's a disappointment because I know they were so talented, and once they have Duke and once they have those two guards there to propel that offense and get out in transition, they could score with the best of them. So I mean, overall, it's a disappointment for me, but I know they're pretty happy with over 10 wins because it has been a long time since that school's done that. So.
Yeah, so they were wanting to reach that mark. They did. What does it say about the seniors on that group? I mean, you talk about Rufus Harris, Dariante Parker, Rufus Harris, but Zach Carter came on, and he really was one of those guys that came in from South Robeson. Really wasn't expected to do too much based on his past, but really emerged. What does it say about those seniors to really lead that team?
Yeah, they were Duke. You can put in there. They all were the key components to why they had such a successful season. So, it's going to be a tough rebuild for them next year. I think that's the overall impression I get.
Yeah, so Scotland lost at Pinecrest and is on the outside looking in for the state playoffs despite finishing in a tie for 5th in the league standings. So, Brandon, what are your thoughts on what you saw from the Scotland boys this year?
Well, they certainly had their chances to get into the playoffs at the end of the season. They did lose to Richmond in their season finale, and if they had won, they probably would have finished solely in 5th place, and most likely, based on projections, would have gotten a spot in the playoffs. And then had they won against Pinecrest, they probably would have gotten in too, but that obviously didn't happen. But, it's still, pretty significant that a team that started the season 0-7 was competing for a playoff bid. It's been a really rough year for them in terms of, having some guys leave and then, struggling with some areas of, consistency, being sloppy with the ball. And I was talking with Coach Matt Justin after the Pinecrest game, and, he's just saying, right now we just need guys to come in and be consistent, to be dedicated. You need to look forward to these next few years. Who's going to take them to the next level? Because that they've had some pretty decent years in the past, and they want to get back to that.
Yeah, last year was the sort of the surprise year for them. They came out of nowhere and really surprised some teams, had some big wins early. This year it was sort of the letdown, the 0-7 start. They didn't really see. Not a lot of people like me didn't see coming from them. What do they have going forward for them?
They have a solid group of juniors. we got guards like C.J. Settles and Garrett McRae, who have all, shown some good IQ and some good shooting touch. But like I said, I don't think right now they have enough guys who are, fully dedicated to carrying that team, so they need to bring in more underclassmen. And I know even from the JV team, they had a couple of guys get minutes, Ladarius McNeil and Grayson Smith being a couple of them. A couple of good athletes who could contribute at the next level in years to come. But it really is about dedication right now. It's about who's going to be working in those summer months to get better.
Do you think that having a football program like Scotland has really holds that back, holds a basketball program like that back?
I'm not, so sure that's the case. I mean, I know there's some basketball players who play football, and I know even the football team probably sometimes watches the basketball team and they're like, hey, that kid could be good on the gridiron next year. Football is kind of king in Scotland County, so you probably, in comparison, you probably don't hear a whole lot about basketball. But, there still is guys, and, there's still kids at the middle school who can do both, and, you can tell are going to have bright futures, both in football and basketball, which is good to be a multi-sport athlete, so.
Yeah, so the hottest team in the area continued its roll on Monday as Fairmont advanced to the semifinals of the Three Rivers Conference Tournament with a 19-point win over Whiteville. And now they get the conference regular season champions in West Columbus. So, Donnell, what is going forward right now with Fairmont?
So Fairmont is in a great position at this point in the year. This is when you want to be playing your best basketball, and they are. I know you got to talk with Coach McNair after their last win against Whiteville, which was a big one. And coming into tonight's matchup against West Columbus, this is their toughest one yet of this winning streak, so we'll see how they perform. Yeah,
so 8 in a row. Do you think it gets to 9?
I do. I have them winning that whole tournament, so I think they have to get it done tonight for that to happen. But it's their toughest test, so we'll have to see how their new components are working together, and how their camaraderie is going at that point. So
yeah, speaking of their new components, probably the biggest piece that's really emerged since the second semester has been Dwayne Davis, a transfer from Lumberton who's had to sit out first semester due to eligibility issues. Came on last night, or Monday was the first time I really got to see him, and puts up a triple-double with 10 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. What is it about him that really helps out that team?
Yeah, what a difference that Dwayne makes, like that's really what it's been lately for them. He handles the ball. I know you got to see it firsthand. He brings the ball up. He plays like point forward kind of position for them. Gets rebounds, assists, steals. He does everything for them. So he's a very viable part of that team, and he's gonna have to play big tonight if they want to pull off that upset.
Yeah. So we watched Javon Morris go from where he was scoring big points in different games. Like there'd be times where he put up 26, 23, 30 points, but then there'd be nights he put up 13. How does he really help out that offensive flow with Javon Morris?
Yeah, Javon, Ocho, he's got somebody to take the pressure off him now. So teams used to load up on him. I think when we saw those 13 points and things like that, and he had a low ankle injury too that he was dealing with. Now they can't load up on him. They have no choice. They got two dogs that are really coming after him each game. So now Ocho's freed up, and he's consistently scoring over 20 points, and he could get a Player of the Year consideration here if he keeps going.
Yeah, he's certainly going that way. Dwayne Davis told me after the game, him and Javon Morris are sort of like D. Wade and LeBron. I think it's a little bit of a stretch, but they are a good duo that's really seeming to work well on the perimeter and also in the paint. So how much does hosting the semifinals and the championship really help out Fairmont?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of the reason why I like their chances. They're at a neutral site game, but it's clearly their home court and what they're comfortable with, where they practice, where they've won all these conference championships, and where that crowd is just so rabid for them and their fan base. So it's definitely an advantage.
Yes, both St. Paul's teams advanced to Thursday semifinals after two hard-fought wins over South Robinson at home. Donnell, you were there for both of those games. How was both teams from St. Paul's able to come away with the emotional wins?
Yeah, the girls especially, considering what happened in the last game, St. Paul's and South Robinson, hooked up, and the unfortunate situation that went down. And it was good to see them come out and, show some good sportsmanship before the game and shake hands and, let everybody know that there's no hard feelings. And, they overcame, it was a really competitive game. So St. Paul's overcame, some back and forth action. They were down a little bit. Diamond Sims Moore, hit a couple layups, and Jivy Settles Graham, she ended up scoring 13 points, 8 in the fourth quarter, and of course TJ Ackelberger, another 20-plus point game. So very interesting. And then the boys, they just showed dominance to me. They are one of the tougher teams in that conference, and we'll see how they perform on Thursday.
Yeah, and Thursday they both will have rubber matches, weight both teams as the girls take on Whiteville and the boys take on South Columbus at Fairmont. So it should be some good games, some revenge. There's a lot of weight in the boys' game, so we'll see how that goes. But while we got some time left in the show, let's do some conference championship picks. So we've got 4 teams left in each of the 4 tournaments. So we'll start off with the Sandhills girls. Donnell, who do you have winning?
So Sandhills girls got to have Pinecrest. I don't see anybody beating them, even Lumberton. I know, just watched them last night, but I don't know if they can handle those leads, those first quarter deficits.
Yeah, Brandon, what about you?
Well, surprisingly, I'm going to agree with Donnell. I think Pinecrest has the best talent on the girls' side, and I think they'll be able to pull it off.
Yeah, do you think that it seems like y'all are both a little hesitant? Is it the first quarter woes they've had here recently that really keeps y'all a little wary, Brandon?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, in this conference, you got to put together 4 strong quarters, so.
Yeah, Lumberton, we did see them, or the 2 times I've seen them in the regular season play, not in the shootout against Purnell Sweat. They looked really slow off just out of the gate, and you can't have that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens from there. So going to the boys' side, Donnell, who do you have?
71st, they are the most complete team in that conference. They have the longest winning streak right now. They're the hottest. This is when you need to be the hottest, most athletic. Got to go 71st.
Yeah, Brandon, what about you?
Yeah, I like 71st as well. I've said time and time again, they're just very consistent, and there's a lot of teams in this conference that are very good, but they're not very consistent at times. So it's going to take a lot to stand up to 71st. I think there are some teams that could and have played them close, but it's going to be tough, especially in a conference tournament environment.
Yes. So Donnell, who do you have in the Three Rivers girls?
East Bladen. They have never lost, as LeVar Ball would like to say, never lost in that conference. So it's a wrap for everybody else. They have no chance.
Yeah, Brandon.
Yeah, I think in the past I've said St. Paul's, but I'm gonna have to go with East Bladen there. I think their resume just does all the talking for them. They're doing pretty well.
It does seem like East Bladen is the premier of the conference right now. They're just, like you said, haven't lost. They haven't lost in 2 years, and they just look like the really tough team that nobody's really going to be able to hang with. So how about the boys, Donnell, for the Three Rivers Conference?
Boys, I'm shaking it up. Got to go one Robeson County team. So Fairmont, is set up for them. They have that home court neutral thing going, and they're the hottest team in that conference from the boys' side. So got to go Fairmont.
Yeah, and especially with Fairmont, like Donnell said, the situation kind of favors them, but also all the adversity they've been through this season, with dealing with a new group of kids, I think it's kind of right for them to pull it all together now.
Yeah, and that was something that Coach Mike Baker told me after the game, that when Fairmont started off slow, the conference was like, hey, do y'all still want to host? I mean, they were struggling to get wins early on in the year. They were like, are you sure you still want to host? And I think that's something that Fairmont is really rallying on. They're saying, hey, they thought that we weren't going to be here right now. They've won 8 in a row, and it'll be interesting to see what happens between now and Friday. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see what happens in both the Three Rivers and the Sandhills. A lot of basketball is to be played the next couple of days, and it's going to keep us busy, that's for sure. Well, not Brandon. Brandon's got baseball.
Yeah, it's baseball. It's the most wonderful time of year, baseball and softball season.
Well, we'll see about that. I think basketball is our favorite. So once again, we'd like to thank the crew here at WNCP TV for their work behind the scenes on the show. For Brandon Tester and Donnell Coley, I'm Jonathan Bim. Thanks for tuning in to Inside Athletics.